Tales from the Mythos.
The Call of the Drowned God. Albert Albright should have burned his late uncle's papers. As a professor of folklore at Miskatonic University, he had spent his career chasing myths, treating ancient horrors as mere stories. But after inheriting Professor Angel's belongings, he realized some stories were real. The locked drawer in his uncle's desk held brittle documents, strange letters, and a bas-relief sculpture of something grotesque, a nightmare of twisting lines that made his stomach churn. And then the dream started. Cyclopean cities loomed in his sleep, impossibly angled towers sinking into an endless black ocean. Whispers slithered through the corridors of his mind, a language no human should understand. It always ended the same way, with the feeling that something vast and patient was waiting beneath the waves. The documents hinted at something worse than nightmares. There was mention of an island that should not be, a lost place where an ancient being slumbered beneath the sea. Cthulhu. The name alone sent a spike of unease through him. Albert turned to two people he trusted: Alex Parker, a former military officer turned Miskatonic University investigator, and Borden, a woman of few words but deadly intent. They had tangled with the occult before, had seen things the world refused to believe. When Albert told them what he had uncovered, they didn't laugh. "The cult isn't gone," he said. "They're still out there, waiting for the right time." Alex, ever the pragmatist, leaned back in his chair and adjusted his round glasses. "Where do we start?" Albert placed his hand on an old map. "New Orleans." "The swamp of the drowned god," he said. "The Louisiana bayou swallowed them whole." They followed a trail of missing persons, of whispers about strange gatherings deep in the swamps. Inspector Legrasse's raid in 1908 had put a dent in the cult, but it had not destroyed it. One night, guided by torchlight, they found the altar, a stone slab, slick with something fresh, a foul idol, watching from the shadows, and the chanting, low, guttural, scraping against the mind. Figures emerged from the darkness, bodies painted in crude symbols, their eyes wide and unblinking. The priest at the center raised his arms, murmuring something that made Albert's teeth ache. Then the water behind them moved. Alex's pistols flashed in the night, dropping two cultists before they could react. Borden was faster, her axe cleaving through the throat of a third. But the priest only smiled. Albert felt it before he saw it. A presence beneath the water, something stirring in the blackness. The priest's voice became a shriek, an unnatural howl of devotion. Albert ripped a page from his uncle's research and shouted the words he had barely dared to read. The priest convulsed. The swamp shook. And then silence. The cult fled into the night, leaving only the idol behind. Alex reloaded his pistols with shaking hands. "That wasn't all of them." "No," Albert said. His stomach turned as he looked at the idol's blank, bulging eyes. "This was just a piece of it." Borden wiped the blood from her axe. "Then we keep going." Albert nodded. "We head for the Pacific." Johansson's testimony. Before setting sail, they tracked down an old shipping log, the records of Gustaf Johansson, a Norwegian sailor who had once encountered the same island. His notes, scribbled in desperation, spoke of his crew's terrifying discovery. Johansson and his men had stumbled upon the risen ruins of R'lyeh. When they explored its vast, impossible city, they accidentally opened a door that was never meant to be opened. They woke something up. Cthulhu rose from its tomb. Johansen's men were slaughtered, their minds shattered by the god's presence. Johansen and a handful of survivors fled back to their ship, only to find that Cthulhu was following them across the ocean. In a moment of desperation, Johansen turned the ship around and rammed the god's head. It wasn't a battle. It was a delay. The creature's form crumbled and reformed, like something made of smoke and nightmare. But for a brief moment, it staggered and fell. It bought enough time for the island to sink on its own, pulling Cthulhu back into the abyss. The realization hit Albert like a stone in the gut. Johansen had not defeated Cthulhu. He had only forced it back into its slumber. "We have to do the same," Albert whispered. Alex nodded. "Then we sail. The city that should not be." They found it, just as Johansen had. The island rose from the Pacific depths, its alien geometry twisting the mind. They moved cautiously, tracing Johansen's steps. The carvings along the walls seemed to shift when they looked away, as if the city itself was aware of them. Then, the door, a titanic slab of stone, covered in symbols that pulsed as if alive, and beyond it, a sound, wet, monstrous. The door moved. Something ancient and wrong was waking up. Borden struck first. Her axe slammed into the shifting stone, sending cracks through its surface. Alex fired, the bullets vanishing into the darkness beyond the doorway. It wasn't enough. Albert saw it, not with his eyes, but with something deeper, a form too vast, too alien to comprehend, a being older than mankind. Cthulhu. Reality itself screamed as the god rose from its tomb. Albert fell to his knees, his mind shattering. The pressure of its gaze was enough to break men. He felt his thoughts unravel, his very identity dissolving into the abyss. Alex grabbed him, his voice a distant echo. "Albert, move!" Borden, covered in blood and smiling like a lunatic, raised her axe again. They ran back to their ship. Albert turned to Alex. "We have to do what Johansen did." Alex took the wheel. The ship lurched forward, a final desperate maneuver. The bow slammed into the god's head, and for one moment the nightmare collapsed. The island began to sink. Cthulhu's scream was not rage, but patience. It would sleep again. For now, aftermath. Albert awoke to the sound of gulls. The sun rose over an empty horizon. The island was gone. Alex sat beside him, staring at the water. Borden stood, silent, the same unreadable look in her eyes. Albert's hands shook as he reached for his journal. He would write it down, every word. But who would believe him? The tide rolled in, and somewhere, deep beneath the waves, Cthulhu slept once more.
If this tale stirred something in the dark corners of your mind, don't let it end here. Like the video, leave a comment, share it with those who dream strange dreams, and subscribe so you don't miss what's still to come.